Hey everyone, it's Mike, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about rock music in the mainstream. I've been seeing a lot of comments and a lot of discourse online with questions like, where are all the rock bands? Why isn't rock music popular anymore? Well, in this video, I'm going to answer that question. Actually, I guess I'm going to answer that question right now. Whether it's rock music or any other genre, when a genre of music is in the mainstream and is at its height of popularity, it's obviously not going to sustain that forever. So with rock music, it never really went away. When most people think of rock music, I think their mind instantly goes to the 90s, Nirvana kind of era, or maybe the early 2000s, that pop punk era with, Blink, Sum 41, Simple Plan, etc., all those bands. It was kind of hard to determine when rock music really fell from the mainstream. I'd probably say 08, 09, 2010, somewhere in those few years is when rock music fell off and just wasn't as popular as it once was. So the purpose of this video is to highlight 100 bands and artists for people who are lapsed or casual fans of rock music. Three things before I dive into the list. I know I titled this video 100 emo bands, but I'm really including everything under the alternative music label: punk, pop punk, emo, hardcore, metal, metalcore, ska, etc. Anything that you can think of that fits under alternative music. I just had to obviously pick something for the title. And I'm doing all of this so there's a wide variety of music that people can fall in love with and hopefully find their new favorite band. And two, I'm going to be using emo and pop punk pretty interchangeably throughout the video because most people think they're the same thing anyway. And emo, for most people, is a time period in their lives, not a genre of music anyway. So please be nice in the comments. And third, for obvious reasons, I'm not going to include bigger bands like Paramore or Blink because most people already know those bands. And this is for the list is mostly for, like I said, casual or lapsed fans. But again, this is a list of 100 bands and artists, so even if you are the most hardcore music nerd out there, there's going to be something for you on the list. And before I see it in the comments, I am going to include bands that we would consider household names within the scene if you are a hardcore fan of alternative music. So some of the bands I talk about might have millions of streams on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever like that, but I don't want to gatekeep any of these bands either and keep them off the list because not everyone is an encyclopedia of knowledge of this scene, which is why I'm making this video. So hopefully the music that we all love is, popular and everybody in the world listens to all these bands that we've been listening to for years and that we love. So again, I don't want to gatekeep any of these, bigger bands in the scene that haven't gotten to that next level of success of, super mainstream and popularity. All right, let's get to the list. I'm going to go in alphabetical order and I'll give my quick thoughts on every band and artist as we go along. Action Adventure continued the tradition of great pop punk coming out of Chicago. Agi released one of the most unique emo albums from recent years with their 2021 album, The Idol Opus. It's formatted like more of a play than an album. There's an entire backstory. There's 15 songs and the entire album comes in at about an hour and a half, so there's a lot to dive into. It's a great album and it was my favorite album from 2021. Folk punk doesn't get the love that it probably deserves, and Apes Estate are one of the best bands in folk punk. Bad Cop are keeping the Fat Wreck style of pop punk alive and well. Bia Badoobie, bedroom pop, indie, whatever you want to call it, it's great. Bearings, catchy, sing-along filled pop punk. Ben Quad are one of the newer bands in the emo scene, and one of my favorites. I love The Expert in a Dying Field from the Beths. It was one of my favorite albums from last year. Better Love is great pop rock from Chicago. The Bomb Pops, great Fat Wreck style pop punk. Boy Genius are one of the biggest bands in the alternative music scene. Their album, The Record, is going to be atop of a lot of people's year-end lists. Emily, I'm Sorry is a great song. Breezy Supreme, a great mix of pretty much everything under the punk rock / pop punk banner. A lot of great catchy anthemic punk rock songs. More great melodic hardcore here with Buggin', and my favorite song from the band is All Eyes on You. Bully has been releasing great rock and roll for a long time, but their newest album, Lucky for You, is their best work and the best rock album of the year. Despite what you may think, ska never died, and Catbite is one of the best bands in ska today. CC Coakley, a little rock, a little country. Check out their songs Cliché and 865. Chase Plato is self-described as the founder of Sixth Wave Emo. Check out their song, Set You Free. Chris Farron is a constant in the scene. He's been releasing music forever, and he's always releasing new, consistently catchy music. Citizen is a band that blew up in the 2010s and that pop-punk revival, but their new album, Calling the Dogs, might be their best album yet. Code Orange is one of the biggest bands in hardcore, metal, metalcore, etc. They're massive. Daisy Grenade are one of the newer bands on this list, but their songs are so catchy, you're going to be singing along right away. Former singer of The Loved Ones, Dave House, has been releasing great rock and roll since the early 2010s. Dexter and the Moonrocks describe themselves as Western space grunge. If you're looking for modern rock, look no further. The Dirty Nil released one of the best rock albums to come out in recent years with 2018's Master Volume. Diva Bleach, catchy pop rock. I really like their new song, Out of My Head. Doonerats play rock and roll, a little punk rock, but they don't take themselves too seriously. Equipment's song, Talk to Strangers, has been stuck in my head ever since I heard it, and I know it's going to be one of my top songs of the year on my Spotify Wrapped. If you mixed lo-fi and chill wave with emo and folk punk, you would get Field Medic. One of the pioneers of easycore, 4 Year Strong, are still making great rock music. Future Teen's album Hard Feelings is one of the best emo albums in recent memory. Like I said at the top of the video, there's a lot of discussion about what even is rock music anymore, and my answer would be the Gaslight Anthem. Self-described as hardcore for freaks, if you listen to Gel, all you're going to want to do is headbang and mosh and circle pit in your bedroom. Very good punk rock. Grumster's album Underwhelmed is one of my favorite pop-punk, punk rock albums to come out in the last few years. Catchy pop rock. Hey I Love You describe themselves as what happens when wannabe competitive Smash Bros. Players try to create music, combining influences from Nintendo, core emo, power pop, and shoegaze. And that sums it up better than I ever could. Fast, catchy ska with some punk rock thrown in. One of the newer bands on the list, but Honey Revenge might be the next band to explode in popularity. One of the biggest bands in the emo pop-punk scene today. Another newer band in the scene that makes great catchy pop-punk. Jeff Rosenstock is a modern-day punk rock legend. Listen to all of his music. Jur is one of the top artists in the ska scene today. They also make ska covers with the Ska Tune Network project, and they also play in We Are the Union. I think Jetty Bones' 2017 EP Old Women really flew under the radar, and I love the new song Sting from their new album. One of the biggest bands in punk rock today. Kenny Hoopla is another one of the newer artists on the list. Travis Barker from Blink actually drums on a few of his songs, and Estella is the song you should check out. It is a great pop-punk song. One of the best bands in the ska scene today. One of the most popular metal/hardcore bands around today. Great melodic hardcore. The band's album, Would You Miss It, is going to end up on a lot of year-end lists. The Lawrence Arms are absolutely punk rock legends. A little emo, a little math rock, a lot of good songs. Definitely one of the biggest new bands in the scene. They only started in 2018 and they've already released so much good music. If you haven't listened to their song Drunk 2, what are you doing? Martha released one of the best pop-punk albums ever with their album Blisters in the Pit of My Heart. Masked Intruder released one of the best Ramones core albums since the Ramones with their 2012 self-titled album. One of the biggest bands in the modern pop-punk scene, my favorite song is Garden. The Menzingers' 3-album run of On the Impossible Past, Rented World, and After the Party is legendary. The Menzingers are my favorite band and one of the best punk rock bands of all time. Some more great melodic hardcore. The hardcore scene is filled with amazing bands. Military Gun's album, Life Under the Gun, might be the best album of the year. I think by most measurements, Neck Deep is the biggest band in modern pop-punk, or they're close to it. I really like the band's 2021 album, Low Life, a really underrated album in my opinion. I thought Northbound's album, Soul Kiss, was a great pop-punk album. Great lyrics and intense punk rock songs. 6th wave emo, 7th wave emo, 8th wave emo. I have no idea what wave of emo we're in, but whichever one we are in, Origami Angel is on the top of that wave. Oso Oso's album Basking in the Glow is the best summer emo album of all time. Oxymorons mix rock and hip-hop. Check out their EP Mohawks and Do-Rags. Pink Shift took over the scene with their song I'm Gonna Tell My Therapist on You, and rightfully so. That song is awesome. Pool Kids are arguably on top of the emo scene right now. Check out their self-titled album. If you're looking for punk rock, listen to Pup. The band's new album, The Window, might be the best indie album of the year. Even more great melodic hardcore here with Rest Easy. Check out their song, Bad Idea. Yes, they are bringing out the tarot cards. Great modern hardcore punk. Seaway's 2020 album, Big Vibe, was a great pop punk album, and not enough people talk about it. Modern screamo, that's very good. Underrated Midwest punk rock. Sincere Engineer continue the tradition of great punk rock coming out of Chicago. If you're looking for modern rock and roll with a chill vibe, check out Slaughter Beach Dog. Self-described as music for mall goths, my favorite song is Drain. Great punk rock, go listen to Soul Glow. Go listen to Brave Faces Everyone. About as classic rock as you can get with a band that is still releasing new music. Stand Atlantic is pop to the punk. Their song Coffee at Midnights is phenomenal. Modern pop punk legends, Elevated would be my choice for one of the best pop punk songs ever released in like the last decade. One of the biggest bands from the pop punk revival of the 2010s, and they're still releasing great music. If you miss that style of 90s pop rock, check out Super Crush. A little indie rock, a little punk rock, check out their song Keep in Touch. Certified Depressant is one of the best pop punk albums I've heard in a long time, and it has already locked up a spot on my best of 2023 list. Thick's album 5 Years Behind was released in March of 2020 when a lot of different stuff was happening, so it's really no surprise that it flew under the radar, but it's a great punk rock album. Tiger's Jaw has been releasing great emo and pop punk since like 2008. Check out the band's song Bury the Hatchet. If Touche Amore aren't considered hardcore legends already, then I don't know, man. Really underrated emo with a 90s pop rock vibe. I saw a lot of comments online that Trophy Eyes are one of the most underrated bands in the scene. I would describe them as a more emo version of The Killers. Peripheral Vision is one of the best emo albums ever. Turnstile are the biggest band in modern hardcore. I don't think anybody would argue that, and they are the band that might make hardcore mainstream. A really underrated pop punk band, I love the band's album Lost Touch. A band that came up in the 2010s pop punk revival, then they stopped making music, then they came back last year with the best music of their career. The Wonder Years are pop punk legends, no question about that. My hot take with the Wonder Years is that Low Tide is one of the band's best songs. Fun, catchy, infectious pop punk. And that's it. That's the end of the list. 100 emo, rock, pop punk, emo, metal, metalcore, hardcore, ska, indie bands for you to check out. Now, I'm sure I missed some great bands and artists, so please leave your recommendations down in the comments, and I'll be there chatting as well. Also, don't forget to check out the Spotify playlist linked in the description with all 100 bands. Please like the video, subscribe if you haven't, tell all your friends, and thanks for watching.